A new day, a new destination. The city of Regensburg in Germany, state of Bavaria, belongs to those places that captivate every time you visit them. Imperial scale, quiet beauty, special coziness, the Middle Ages in modernity. All this is the old German city of Regensburg, ready to open and show you its sights. There is so much to do and see, but it's hard to know where to start. Regensburg is very proud of its self-proclaimed status as Germany's best-preserved medieval city, but it's hard to argue with the statement once you visit. This city escaped most damage from bombing in the Second World War, so it boasts a 2-year-old architectural heritage with original buildings, not rebuilt or renovated ones. And the city works hard to maintain this history with strict conservation and preservation laws that have been in place since 1970s. The advantageous place near a curve of the Danube River has been inhabited by people since the Stone Age. In 2006, ancient Celtic graves dating back to 400 years before the Common Era were found in these places. The history of the city itself begins in year 78 of Common Era, when the Romans founded a small military settlement for soldiers here, Castra Regina. Another Roman military camp, Castle Compmo, was located nearby, the ruins of which can be seen in the district of the same name in modern Regensburg. It has not yet been fully excavated. The empire was destroyed, but many barbarian states arose in its place. One of them was the possession of the Bavarian dukes Agilolfings, who ruled from about 500 to 788 and chose as their residence a city near the mouth of the Regen River, Regensburg, or the city of rain, because in German Regen is rain. The city often changed names. Its modern names come from the Celtic word regana, which means waterways, which was borrowed from the Romans, naming the river Reganum. Regensburg means city of the Regen. Saint Erhard of Regensburg preached Christianity at the court of Agilolfing at the end of the 7th century. His efforts were continued by Saint Boniface, who founded a bishopric in Regensburg. This is where the appeal to Christianity in the Czech Republic began. In 845, 14 Czech princes were baptized here. On the right side we see the old city chapel. It is one of the oldest religious buildings in Germany. The first mentions of this temple date back to the early Middle Ages and are associated with the name of the then King of Bavaria, Louis the German. It was he who ordered the construction of a chapel in which liturgies would be held for members of the royal family. Over the long years of its existence, the Alte Kapelle has been rebuilt more than a dozen times. It acquired its current appearance only at the end of the 18th century. Then its architecture was given elements of the Rococo style, and the interior decoration received a pleasant bonus in the form of paintings by famous German artists. The main pride of the old chapel is the miracles icon of the Mother of God, which appeared in the church in the 15th century and was painted, according to legend, by one of the 12 apostles. In addition, in the church you can see the organ consecrated by the Pope himself. Old City Chapel is a Romanesque church of the 12th century with later Gothic choirs. Its interiors, wall and ceiling paintings on biblical subjects have been perfectly preserved and are an excellent example of South German Rococo. The white Baroque facade of the church of the Carmelite monastery of the Saint Joseph from 16th century stands out in the southeast of the square Old Grain Market. To the northeast, the Old Grain Market is bounded by the buildings of the former imperial abbey of Niedermünster. Its first church was built around 700, and in the current well-preserved building, which serves as a cathedral, was built in 1146. Its two square towers with red pyramid roofs protrude from behind the houses. Now we are on the ancient square Old Grain Market, in German Alter Kornmarkt, which is located in the very center of the old town. The city was born at this place and began to grow from here. The almost square 80x80 meter counters of the Old Green Market Square define the fort of the Roman military camp of Castra Regina, built around 450 in. The remains of the Roman fort, later turned into ruins, were covered with earth and a grain market was formed in their place. It roared until the 19th century, when it was moved to a new location on Heidplatz Square. This is indicated by the name of the modern square, Old Grain Market. The southern side of the Old Grain Market is covered by the large collegiate church of the Virgin Mary in the Old Chapel. Legend points to the Old Chapel built on the site of a Roman temple, as the oldest church in Bavaria, from which the Christianization of the country began around 700 during the reign of Duke Theodore II, Agilolfing. Next to the Duke's court stands the Roman tower, connected to it by an arch, at least the lower part of which was built by Roman legionnaires. When, at the end of the 6th century, Bavaria was conquered by the first dukes from the Agilolfing family, they chose Regensburg as their city residence and used the buildings of the Roman camp for living and protection, including the prefecture building that stood near the western wall of the fort. The Agilolfings rebuilt and expanded the house, turning it into the Duke's court. It then belonged to the lords from the house of Carolingians, and in the year 1180, together with all Bavaria, the Herzogshof passed to Wittelsbach. For the first 45 years of the long dynastic history, the Wittelsbachs ruled Bavaria from here in the Herzogshof in Regensburg. Then the Wittelsbach left Regensburg. Landshut was waiting for them. Munich was waiting. Other cities were waiting. And the ducal court has remained the property of the state until our time. Offices of various services were located in it. The St. Ulrich Diocesan Museum is fortunate to be able to present its exhibits in one of the most interesting early Gothic churches in Germany. The building was erected between 1220 and 1230s. Now we see the equestrian monument of the Crown Prince Ludwig I, became king in 1825. He preferred private life and entertainment to affairs of state. The monarch was fond of art. He dreamed of turning the capital of Bavaria, Munich, into New Athens, the most beautiful and enlightened city in Europe. Ludwig was not thrifty. The blame for everything is the expenses for the construction of pompous buildings that have exhausted the country and the numerous love interests of the king. What was the cost of building the Valhalla Hall of Fame on the banks of the Danube? The reign of Ludwig I ended in the spirit of a scandalous farce. At the age of 60, the king, who by the way was legally married, Queen Teresa was still in good health, fell in love with a young adventurer, dancer Elisa Gilbert, who performed under the pseudonym Lola Montes. Lola, who was granted the title of the Countess von Landsfeld by the king in love, not only begged her aging lover for money, including a guaranteed annuity, jewelry and mansions, but also, imagining herself Madame Pompadour, tried to interfere in political affairs. Ludwig I followed her lead, which did not please his subjects at all. In addition, the Bavarian treasury also had to support his son Otto, who was elected king of devastated Greece, which had just been liberated from Turkish rule. In response to the murmuring of his subjects, Ludwig introduced strict censorship, arrested and expelled dissatisfied people from the country. Popular hatred spilled out in Heinrich Heine's poem A Song of Praise to King Ludwig. In it, the poet caustically ridiculed the monarch's passion for construction and patronage, as well as his frivolous behavior and love of poetry. It all ended in riots in March of 1848. Since a constitutional monarchy already existed in Bavaria at the time in 1848, the ministers achieved the abdication of the old voluptuary from the throne. Ludwig was forced to renounce the crown and pass the throne to his son Maximilian. Since then, the ex-king led the life of a private citizen, still devoting himself to patronage. 20 years after his abdication, Ludwig I died in Nice. At this time, his grandson, Ludwig II, reigned in Bavaria. But we got a little carried away with history. Let's get back to the sites. Perhaps the main attraction of today's city of Regensburg is the Cathedral, or Domski Sobor, the city's main cathedral of Saint Peter. As we appropriate in the 13th century, the cathedral, built in the Gothic style, took a long time to build, very long. So long that the Baroque came into fashion to replace the Gothic, and King Ludwig I, grandfather of the future Bavarian fairy tale King Ludwig II, who descended in 1825, redesigned the domes of the cathedral, replacing them with spires in the Neo-Gothic style. Some of the stained glass windows of the city's main church date from the 13th to the beginning of the 14th centuries and are considered to be among the best stained glass windows in German cathedrals. The main altar of the cathedral, made of silver by Augsburg craftsmen in the 18th century and considered one of the most beautiful altars in German churches, deserves special attention. Its construction lasted over 200 years and ended only in the 11th century. Like other churches, it changed several styles and went through a number of radical reconstructions. The old city of Regensburg received a ready-made cathedral only in 1872. That's, in general, it was built for exactly 600 years. On weekends, Regensburg Cathedral hosts the Domspatzen, a famous choir of boys known locally as Cathedral Sparrows. For several decades, this choir was directed by the elder brother of the Pope Benedict XVI, Georg Ratzinger. Let's just take a silent walk around the cathedral. If you liked the video, click the like, leave a comment, share it, and surely don't forget to subscribe the channel.